I'm urging the Prime Minister to play fair, do what's right, and eliminate the tax altogether.
Calling out the carbon tax and the Prime Minister.
Tonight, Premier Ford taking on Trudeau, the exemption and the rising tension between the provinces and Ottawa. Good evening. We begin tonight with a political storm brewing, one that has Canadian premiers crying foul.
It's over the federal government's decision to give Atlantic Canadians a carbon tax exemption on home heating oil. As CTV's Judy Trinh reports, other provincial leaders are demanding it's waived for them, too.
Just days after the government announced a carbon tax break for Atlantic Canada on home heating oil, the Prime Minister is trying to put the brakes on more demands from the rest of the country.
There will absolutely not be any other carve-outs or suspensions of the price on pollution.
An insufficient explanation for the opposition.
The Prime Minister's panicked flip-flop on the carbon tax for oil heating proved everything he said for 8 years about the tax is wrong. It's not worth the cost.
Their approach is to divide Canadians. Who did you vote for? Okay, you get a break. If you didn't vote for us, you don't get a break. That is not the way to build a nation.
Trudeau announced the 3-year carbon tax pause, flanked by his Atlantic caucus, where the majority of ridings belong to the Liberals.
Atlantic caucus was vocal with what they've heard from their constituents, and perhaps they need to elect more Liberals on the prairies.
Prairie politicians are now demanding a carbon tax pause for residents who heat their homes with natural gas. Saskatchewan's premier even threatened not to pay.
We will take action in Saskatchewan, where Sask Energy will terminate. They will quit collecting the carbon tax on January the 1st. And really what this is, it's about fairness for families, for Canadian families, regardless of where you live in the nation.
In Ontario, Doug Ford called for the carbon tax to be scrapped completely.
It's completely unfair that they still have to pay the carbon tax, so I'm urging the Prime Minister to play fair, do what's right, and eliminate the tax altogether.
Despite the government's intention not to further cut into its own carbon pricing policy, affordability continues to be an issue for the Liberals. They've already fallen behind the Conservatives by double digits, and no matter what they do when it comes to food, fuel, and housing, is reversing that trend. Judy Trinh, CTV News, Ottawa.
The calls to end the carbon tax came as Premier Ford announced the province would extend its gas and fuel tax cuts into next year. The measure cuts the price at the pumps by 5.7 cents per litre. The government says it plans to leave the cuts in place until June 30th, 2024. This marks the second time they've been extended since being introduced in July of 2022. The Premier says the move is aimed at helping people deal with the rising cost of living. Also tonight, Doug Ford fires back following the release of thousands of documents related to the Greenbelt scandal. The Premier says he had nothing to do with the changes in the Greenbelt.
We're following a developing story from North York, where huge plumes of smoke filled the air late this afternoon. Crews are on scene of an industrial fire. It's at a scrap metal business on Fenmar Drive, west of Weston Road. Toronto Fire says it responded to a 911 call about smoke and flames visible. No injuries are reported at this point. If you're in the area, note that road closures are in effect.
He took the stand in his own defense, and now it's his turn to be cross-examined.
Disgraced fashion mogul Peter Nygard on the witness stand answering questions at his sex assault trial. CTV's John Musselman was in the courtroom today, and he joins us live with the details. John.
Well, Michelle, I think the best way to describe it, this was a very methodical cross-examination, and it's not over. It will continue tomorrow. We didn't get into any specific allegations with what happened in the Nygard headquarters, but Nygard did take a very defensive posture when he was questioned by the Crown. Peter Nygard was at times combative on the witness stand today, taking issue with a number of questions put to him by Crown Prosecutor Neville Gowalla during a lengthy cross-examination. At one point, Nygard expressed frustration when he was asked about how long his work days were at the height of his fashion business. Nygard accused the Crown of trying to catch him in inconsistencies relating to a statement he gave police in October of 2021. Nygard, quote, "I want to be careful of how I answer questions because it seems like you are trying to trap me, Crown. I'm not trying to trap you. I am just asking you questions." At two different times today, the judge interjected the testimony and took issue with the Crown and Nygard for talking over one another. The judge told them, quote, "This will not be a debate." Nygard has pleaded not guilty to 5 counts of sexual assault and 1 count of forcible confinement.
The burden of proof is really high for prosecutors. It's really a virtual certainty or very, very close to it that needs to be proved. And it's quite possible for a jury to think something probably or likely happened, but not be sure.
The complainants allege they were lured to his fashion headquarters on Niagara Street and attacked in his private bedroom retreat. The alleged incidents took place in the 1980s, right up to 2005. Nygard is now 82 years old. On a number of occasions today, he asked that the question be repeated, telling the court his hearing, much like his memory, has gotten much worse over the years. And once again, this cross-examination will continue here tomorrow morning. Reporting live at 361 University, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back inside to you.
Thank you, John. Still to come, a disturbing scene repeating itself once again. Refugee claimants and asylum seekers sleeping outside in the cold, waiting for help. The city's response just ahead. But first, an especially spooky night this Halloween for people in Durham region. Yes, that is snow falling. This video shared by a viewer in Ajax. The lake effect snow hit many areas this morning. Hopefully it didn't stick around for trick-or-treaters this evening, though.
Speaking of which, this is a live shot tonight of some of the mini ghouls and goblins out and about this Halloween night. A little cool outside. There are probably a few parkas under some of those costumes. And if you're on the road, it's a good reminder to slow down and keep an eye out for the kids. And our Lindsay Morrison couldn't stay away from the fun. She's out tonight at a very busy street near Bathurst and Eglinton. Hey, Lindsay, nice costume.
Well, thank you, Nathan. I do want to show you my costume because I chose to wear something reflective, which was encouraged in order to make yourself nice and visible when trick-or-treating. And I'm a construction worker, and there is, in fact, a bump ahead, just so that you know. But there are some amazing costumes out here. The trick-or-treating, it has begun. And I love this time of the night because it's a lot of the little ones that are out, and they're just so sweet, so adorable. They're all bundled up tonight. We are on Headington Avenue, and you may recall this is a very popular street in the city of Toronto for trick-or-treaters. They're expecting upwards of 1,000 children to get some candy here tonight. So we're going to be checking out the sights and the sounds. We're also going to talk about your weather. If you're just getting ready to go trick-or-treating now, here's a look at what you should know. The temperature, yeah, it's a little on the cool side this Halloween. We're at 4 degrees currently in Toronto, but I can assure you it feels slightly cooler than that, thanks in part to winds coming out of the west. And yeah, they have been a little bit gusty today. As for what we can expect precipitation-wise, it's mostly dry this hour in the GTA. I'm seeing some showers in the west end around Hamilton, Burlington, so just a heads up on that. Here is your Scarecast, 7 p.m. tonight. You can expect the temperature to be around 3 degrees, but feeling like 0 or even -1. As long as you're dressed for it, maybe some layers under the costume. I don't think anyone's going to mind. We will be live here throughout the hour. Happy Halloween, Nathan and Michelle. I'll send it back to you.
Same to you, Lindsay. Great to see the trick-or-treaters already out. We're turning now to Queen's Park and the Premier on the defense over ongoing allegations surrounding the Greenbelt scandal.
Doug Ford answering critics about the plan to remove land from the Greenbelt and accusations he favored friends who wanted development plans approved. CTV's Raheem Ladani joins us live from Queen's Park with the details. Raheem.
Nathan and Michelle, good evening. Premier Doug Ford was asked many times and in several different ways surrounding new revelations about his involvement in the Greenbelt and zoning proposals, but the Premier insists he has done nothing wrong. A day after thousands of documents were uncovered surrounding what Ontario's Premier knew about removing land from the Greenbelt, alleging his friends benefited from urban boundary expansions, Doug Ford is firing back.
I had nothing to do with the changes in the Greenbelt, number one. Number two, the Auditor General cleared us, cleared my office, and the Integrity Commissioner cleared me in my office.
The RCMP is still investigating the matter, and inside the legislature, the NDP accused the Ford government of being dishonest.
That's his alibi? We have 7,000 pages of evidence, 7,000 pages of evidence, 7,000 more reasons that Ontarians have to question this government's integrity.
Freedom of Information documents released by Environmental Defence allege the Ford government issued 18 minister zoning orders, known as MZOs, to fast-track development, all to people who were guests at a wedding for the Premier's daughter last summer. They also claim to show political staff directed changes that would benefit certain developers.
He's denied that he was having meetings with developers like Sergio Mancha about removing his land from the Greenbelt. But we have evidence now in these emails and documents that the Premier, in fact, did meet with Mr. Mancha back in 2021.
Sergio Mancha co-founded the Hamilton-based company Urban Solutions. In a statement, the company says, the mayor and other local representatives attended a fundraiser for the PC party in September of 2021 at Mr. Mancha's home. During the event, Mr. Mancha spoke briefly about this property with the Premier, but it was nothing new. The Ford government has since reversed expansion plans in 12 municipalities, including Hamilton.
I have acknowledged right from the beginning there was too much input from political staff. We have a provincial policy statement, and that's what we should be guided by.
However, the government denies any intentional wrongdoing. As for the RCMP investigation, the Premier says he has not yet been contacted to be questioned. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Raheem. A woman trying to retrieve her stolen purse in downtown Toronto was stabbed in the process and seriously injured. Police say it happened just after 8 last night near Church and Granby. Police say the victim was at a beauty salon in the area when a man came in and stole her purse. The woman followed the suspect to try and get it back, but was attacked and stabbed. Investigators say the suspect was last seen fleeing southbound on Yonge Street.
Police are looking for help tracking down a man suspected in an assault on public transit. This is an image from a security camera. The attack happened on the GO train between Milliken and Agincourt Station. The man's accused of striking a passenger in the face with a heavy object. Police say he left the train at Agincourt Station and walked south towards Shepherd. He was walking with a wooden cane at the time.
Police are also looking for a man in a hate-motivated mischief investigation. It's alleged between October 21st and 29th, he vandalized a number of items on public and private property in the Broadview and Gerrard area. Police say the suspect has a medium build, was last seen wearing a black jacket, dark pants, black running shoes, and carrying a multicolored backpack.
As the temperature continues to drop, especially overnight, attention is once again turning to people forced to sleep on the streets.
Refugee claimants and asylum seekers have set up tents outside an intake center on Peter Street in downtown Toronto. A troubling scene over the summer that appears to be happening again. CTV's Beth McDonnell joins us live with the details. Beth.
Michelle, I'm just down the street from 129 Peters Street, where once again, some people seeking protection in Canada don't have a warm bed to sleep. Mayor Olivia Chow is raising the alarm. She says there's no more money and the city can't open new shelter spaces. On the steps of the city-run housing referral center at 129 Peters Street, there's a problem that hasn't gone away. With jammed Toronto shelters, some escaping war and poverty from overseas are resorting to sleeping on the street, a reality Mayor Olivia Chow calls completely unacceptable.
When the temperature drops to close to 0 or sometimes below 0, when it's raining, wet and cold out, that you're asking a lot of those refugees arriving to Canada that are from Africa. They're not used to this kind of cold.
This man says he arrived a week ago and is hoping for a place to stay.
We sleep, some we sleep outside and some they take us to mosque to sleep.
I know that Canada just is better country. It's a peaceful country.
While Sasai Alemu has been waiting for a space for 16 days, he says he spends the night inside the waiting area of the building. From Ethiopia, he says he fears for his safety and that of his family.
I speak Amharic, and that is why I face too many problems with based on my ethnicity, and that's why I came here to save my life.
This summer, the number of asylum seekers and refugees outside the building needing shelter exploded, and several churches stepped up to help. Without a long-term plan as yet, Chow would like to see the Moss Park Armory opened, as has been done in the past to ease the overflow.
At the end of the day, the federal government needs to have a reception center for refugees. It needs a comprehensive refugees settlement plan. We will partner with them. It needs to provide funding.
Chow says every night more people are coming with nowhere to go. Chow says 54% more refugees are arriving this year compared to last year. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Beth. The Toronto Paramedics Union is sounding the alarm. They say there were no ambulances available in the city yesterday for a period of time. The union shared the update in a social media post, issuing a code red alert. They said no transport ambulances were available in Toronto and that an ambulance for an unconscious elderly person was over 28 minutes away. As a result, Peel Paramedic Services were called in to help. This is the second time this month the union has issued a code red alert.
A new study shows elderly Canadians are at a higher risk of serious outcomes from first infections with COVID-19. The study, published in the Canadian Medical Association Journal, found 4 in 10 seniors 80 and older have never had COVID-19. Experts say the group remains at the highest risk for hospitalization and death.
If we look at who is hospitalized with COVID-19 right now in October of 2023, it is overwhelmingly older Canadians. It's overwhelmingly people over the age of 80, and then, of course, people over the age of 70, and those with underlying medical conditions that put them at greater risk for severe infection. But age is one of the biggest risk factors for severe infection. That's why it's especially important for people who are over 80 and certainly over 70 to come out and get their updated COVID-19 booster vaccine.
Yesterday, flu shots and COVID-19 boosters were made available for free to all Ontarians aged 6 months or older.
In the Middle East, Palestinian officials say hundreds of people were killed or injured in Israeli airstrikes today on a refugee camp near Gaza City.
Israel says the attack destroyed a Hamas command center set up in civilian houses and a network of tunnels underneath. CTV's Heather Butts reports.
Israeli troops are pushing deeper into Gaza, advancing with tanks and other armored vehicles. As airstrikes landed near hospitals and one of the biggest refugee camps in northern Gaza, leaving gaping holes where a building once stood. People on the ground witnessing a dire picture of what some are calling a catastrophic humanitarian situation.
It's an imminent public health catastrophe that looms with the mass displacement, the overcrowding, the damage to water and sanitation infrastructure.
The director of Gaza's Indonesian hospital said Tuesday's airstrike on the outskirts of the city killed more than 50 Palestinians and left 150 wounded. They were just in their homes, targeted well in their homes, said this doctor. We have no idea what to do. There are injured everywhere.
We've been clear. 400 Canadians are stuck in Gaza right now, and they need to leave. Time is running out. We'll be putting pressure on all parties, Israel, making sure that we do so, working also with Egypt, working with Qatar, who's speaking to Hamas.
As it expands a 4-day-old ground offensive, Israel said its forces fought Hamas gunmen inside the militants' vast tunnel network beneath Gaza. While the military wing of Hamas released video Tuesday, they said showed militants fighting with Israeli soldiers in the north. The Israeli Prime Minister has rejected calls for a ceasefire as the families of Israeli hostages gather in Tel Aviv, putting pressure on the government to rescue their loved ones. The more than 200 hostages, including dozens of children, taken by Hamas 3 weeks ago. The death toll in Gaza has now surpassed 8,500, according to the Hamas-run health ministry, as the United Nations calls on both sides to abide by international humanitarian law, which makes protecting civilians paramount. Heather Butts, CTV News, Toronto.
The Trudeau government has released a report outlining its priorities for improving Canada's immigration system.
We continue to have significant demand for newcomers, especially workers who are bringing skills we need, like healthcare, trades to build new homes, and tech workers to support our innovation economy. We're also mindful that many Canadians and newcomers are really struggling to find reasonable housing and face rising costs. Immigration can and must be part of the solution.
The government says housing, healthcare, infrastructure, and other services will be taken into account when planning immigration levels. It also plans to appoint someone to better align immigration programs and enhance connections with the labor market.
The Ontario government's been calling for an urgent meeting on Alberta's plan to withdraw from the Canada Pension Plan. Today, confirmation that it will happen this week.
Let me confirm that this Friday,
I will be convening a special meeting of provincial and territorial finance ministers to discuss the Government of Alberta's proposed withdrawal from the Canada Pension Plan.
The federal finance minister is opposed to the idea, saying the CPP is the bedrock of a secure retirement for Canadians. Ontario agrees, insisting that leaving the pension plan would cause serious harm to working people and retirees. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says her province is paying disproportionately into the CPP and would get a better deal if developed its own plan.
In Italy, a river overflowed its banks today, flooding parts of Milan. A heavy rainstorm swelled the river during the night, causing the overflow just before 6 this morning. Authorities are trying to adapt to extreme weather by building more basins to retain part of the water from flooded rivers. There were various weather alerts in the days before the storms, believed to be a factor in preventing any casualties. Further rains and floods are expected in various other northern Italian communities.
Dozens of blazes are burning in Australia, marking an early start to the wildfire season. Firefighters in eastern Australia continue to battle a blaze that has scorched a town. The blaze in Queensland state is believed to have caused the death of a man and destroyed more than 50 homes. There are about 70 fires across the state and 9 in New South Wales to the south. The wildfire season in Australia peaks during the southern hemisphere summer.
In California, crews are fighting a wildfire ripping through rural land southeast of Los Angeles. The wind-whipped flames have forced about 4,000 people from their homes and damaged or destroyed 9 buildings. The so-called Highland Fire erupted yesterday in dry brush and has now grown to about 3.5 square kilometers in size. The area is sparsely populated, but does have ranches and mobile home parks.
The king has begun his first state visit to Kenya as monarch. He was given a ceremonial welcome by the Kenyan president before visiting memorials to the country's fight for independence from Britain. The king laid wreaths at the tomb of the unknown warrior and later spent time at the Tunnel of Martyrs, which honors those who have lost their lives in conflict. Some Kenyans are pleased to be part of the royal visit. Others want an apology for atrocities committed during the struggle for independence 60 years ago.
Justin Trudeau is likely headed to Washington on Friday. The prime minister is expected to take part in a meeting on greater economic integration hosted by Joe Biden. There has not been confirmation from Ottawa yet, but the U.S. ambassador to Canada says it's very important to the U.S. president that Trudeau be there. Coming up, a reminder, 911 is for emergencies only. Peel Region Dispatch gets a call that is so outrageous, police feel the need to warn folks not to misuse the emergency number.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, if you rent a home or apartment in the GTA, you know prices have gone up. Some landlords are also trying to sell their property. So what if someone wants to inspect your unit? What are your rights as a renter? We speak with an expert. I'll have my report just ahead.
Well, one of the best things about Halloween on Headington is just how much the neighbors get into the spirit of things. Look at this. Can you guess what movie theme these wonderful neighbors are dressed up as? Of course, it's The Little Mermaid. And look at these wonderful trick-or-treaters. They're so polite, too, saying thank you after they've received their candy. Want to share some photos with you? These are from our wonderful viewers who've had some great ones today. There's Leia all set for Halloween. Thank you, Dario, for sending that one in. Here's Willow all dressed up and ready to go trick-or-treating. Love the costume. And here we have Parker, who is dressed as a very famous Toronto Maple Leaf, looking good. And then finally, this is quite the display outside a home in Markham. A big thank you to all of our viewers who have been sharing photos, videos with us. We are live here on Headington Ave. Happy Halloween. We're going to take a look at your weather forecast for the early part of November after this break.
More than 1.7 million people rent in Ontario, which is putting pressure on rental prices and housing stock.
If you're a renter and a landlord wants you to move out, what are your rights when it comes to strangers visiting your unit? Our Pat Foran has this Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Michelle. And Nathan, a Brampton woman contacted us after she said her landlord allowed potential buyers into her unit without any notice. She was concerned for her privacy and safety. We wanted to check the law when it comes to your rights as a renter.
All I heard my door open, and I woke up and I was in shock.
Linda Kissoon rents a basement apartment in a home in Brampton. She says her landlord was planning to sell the property and was allowing potential buyers inside her unit without telling her in advance. She said it happened once while she was in the shower.
And I go, get out of my apartment right now. Get out. Who are you guys? What are you doing?
Kissoon says while her landlord did apologize, another realtor came into the unit unannounced while she was sleeping.
You guys, you just let people come into my place without letting me know.
Tenants have rights. You get these rights for paying your rent. You pay 100% of your rent, you get 100% of your rights.
Tenant advocate Jordy Dent says a landlord needs to provide 24 hours written notice to a tenant, and that includes if a realtor is showing the unit.
So if you're a real estate agent wanting to come in, show the unit to a prospective buyer for a landlord, you're supposed to have written authorization for that. And you're supposed to be able to show that written authorization to the tenant.
A landlord may enter a rental unit with written notice 24 hours in advance if the notice has the reason for entry and time of entry, such as if they need to carry out repairs or do work in the unit, to allow a potential purchaser to view a unit or to carry out an inspection of the unit.
They can't just come in. They have to follow the law. Even if they're there to do something you want, you are always required to get 24 hours written notice.
Kissoon wanted to let other renters know their rights. Her unit is no longer for sale, but she may have to move out to allow the landlord's family members to move in. She says trying to find another place to live has been difficult.
It's so hard to find a place that's about the same price. Living in the city, living in Brampton, the home prices are very expensive.
And a landlord may enter a unit without 24 hours notice if the tenant agrees or there is an emergency like a flood or a fire. But if there is not proper notice, a tenant can file a complaint with the Landlord-Tenant Board. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, it is Halloween night. Trick-or-treaters are all across the city in full swing, and hopefully they're getting some body heat.
Yeah, I mean, if you're still at home, get outside. Now is the time to go out there and get as much candy as you can, Lindsay.
Yeah, Nathan and Michelle, I think we're entering prime time now. This street is about to get very busy. In fact, it already is. And I must say, I think everyone stepped up their costume game this year, even with the chilly temperatures. I don't think anyone is minding. It's much drier than it was last year. I want to reintroduce you to Barb Gordon. You are the queen of Halloween. You're responsible for Halloween, Headington Halloween. For those who aren't familiar, tell us a little bit about Halloween on your street.
Yeah, this is something that grew out of one painting that I did for my son when he was 2 back in 1998. And I did a painting every year, and I found myself putting them on neighbors' lawns, and now 27 houses are decorated. It's a fundraiser for sick kids. And this year, the Home Depot approached me, and they donated these fantastic animatronic characters. And we are going to be auctioning them off on a silent auction online. So auction bids close tomorrow at headingtonhalloween.com.
That's absolutely amazing. And your particular theme this year is The Nightmare Before Christmas.
It is indeed. That's correct. So that's the painting this year. If you see it a bit later, I've done a shot of Sally and all the gang. Another 40 hours well spent.
So we were saying how you have about 1,500 pieces of candy. That's a lot of candy.
Yeah,
we expect a lot of kids.
I'm looking over the vast quantities of humans now, and I'm thinking, oh boy. And I know that the local stores are all out of candy. They've said, Headington, go away. We're done.
And you're expecting to do very well when it comes to this year's donation to Sick Kids Foundation. Tell us about your contribution over the years.
Yeah, actually, I've been working with Sick Kids for about 8 years, I think now, and we're at over 30,000 right now as we speak, so I'm very, very happy with what we've been able to do. My neighbors, my friends, all the people that donate online, that hear about it through television and other outlets, fantastic. I can't thank everybody enough.
Congratulations on what you've accomplished. This is so much fun. Thanks for having us out.
Thanks for coming. It's such a pleasure to have you always. Come on down anytime.
Come on down. There is still time to go trick-or-treating. We're going to talk a little bit about the forecast for tonight and beyond. We'll begin by letting you know that the weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. Now, we did have some scary weather in some parts of southern Ontario today. If you're joining us from Durham Region, Peterborough County, County, parts of Muskoka, as well as Tiny Township and around Georgian Bay. You've had some light snow today, and it continues to fall. You can see that in blue here on our satellite and radar. As we make our way through the night tonight, there is about a 30% chance of flurries here in the GTA. I think many areas will remain dry, but this, of course, is worth pointing out. Here's our forecast radar. Into tomorrow morning, slight chance of a few flurries as well, and then it's going to be a mostly sunny day. It will be cool, though. We'll talk about that next. Thursday is pleasant as well. Still watching areas to the east of Georgian Bay for some active weather. For many, the first significant snow of the season the last couple of days here. Temperature-wise, we're still at 4 degrees here in Toronto. It's 3 in Windsor, 1 in Trenton. As for what you can expect through these trick-or-treating hours, yeah, the temperature is going to start to go down a little bit. It's that wind chill I want you to be mindful of. It does feel a little bit colder out here than the core temperature suggests. Eventually, we fall to an overnight low of -2 degrees. It'll feel like -4, and then waking up tomorrow morning, it might even feel like -8 out there. Here's tomorrow at a glance, the first day of November. It's looking like a mostly sunny one overall, so not bad at all. Just again, little cool. Here's your 7-day forecast. As we head into the weekend, warming up, chance of showers, a little more cloud, and a reminder that we fall back this weekend. So don't forget to change your clocks before you go to bed on Saturday night. We are live here on Headington Avenue in the city of Toronto. Happy Halloween, everyone. Time to go out trick-or-treating. We'll take another look at your forecast coming up. For now, Nathan and Michelle, back to you. Trick-or-treat.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. The cast of Friends comes together and makes a joint statement about the loss of Matthew Perry, how they're coping, and what they want fans to remember about their dear friend.
Driving around in circles looking for parking frustrates many people, especially in big cities.
Well, now an Ottawa-based company is offering more options for those trying to find the perfect parking spot. CTV's Dave Charbonneau explains.
It's what frustrates most drivers, especially those without patience, finding a parking spot close to the final destination.
The intention behind it is for us to open up a new options for drivers that are driving around in congested areas.
It's called Eco Parking, developed right here in Ottawa. It helps drivers find a parking spot and at the same time gives residents a little extra income.
You can book it ahead of time and just be able to show up to your destination on time and being able to park in the area that you want without any hesitation, driving around the block, being late for your meeting.
The app can also save you money, with most spots costing less than city or public paid parking lots.
By default, the app starts for half an hour, and the user can increase it by 15 minutes, and then you can go from half an hour up to 8 hours or longer if the lot is available.
But this isn't only just for residential driveways. Business owners can also offer their spaces too.
If you have a restaurant, some people have a restaurant and they have 1 or 2 or 3 extra, parkings for themselves, so they can actually put that on rent and make extra money, especially in downtown.
And there's a parking lot available. So I'm going to tap on my parking lot and navigates right into it. It shows me where it's at, a couple of descriptions.
Once a driver chooses their spot, GPS takes them right to it.
That's a good idea, yeah. I would use it.
And motorists are getting on board, with 80 active users signing up in just the first month.
I actually thought about that before because I've probably gotten like hundreds of dollars worth of tickets just because I saw someone else park on the street and I thought like that was okay and it was allowed.
Homeowners who offer their parking spots can see current prices in the same area and adjust the price accordingly, or turn off their availability altogether.
You can post your lot for your desired price. We are not selecting or ranging any price. We're leaving that option open to our lot owner because each area is different. So based on your location, what we wanted to do is give that option to you. We should have a separate option that way we can just do max day.
The app is ready for use now on iPhone or Android devices. Dave Charbonneau, CTV News.
It's a warning we've heard before, but police in Peel Region are reminding the public not to misuse 911. Chief Nishan Duriyapa took to social media to share one particularly inappropriate call.
911, do you need police, fire, or ambulance?
Yeah, my television is going crazy.
Sorry?
I can't get any channels or nothing.
Your TV?
Like this. Pardon me?
Your television?
Yeah.
Okay, you've dialed into 911 right now. Do you have a life-threatening emergency?
Hello? Who do I call?
Okay, you need to call 611.
fix it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
According to police, the police chief, more than 40% of all calls to 911 are inappropriate or cases of misuse. He added to his social media post, when every second counts, our 911 operators should be responding to critical incidents only.
The cast of Friends has issued a statement following the death of Matthew Perry. A joint statement from David Schwimmer, Lisa Kudrow, Courtney Cox, Jennifer Aniston, and Matt LeBlanc says, "We are all so utterly devastated by the loss of Matthew. We were more than just castmates. We are a family." Perry was found at his Los Angeles home on Saturday. An autopsy has been completed, but officials say it may take weeks to determine the exact cause of death. Toxicology results are pending. Perry was 54 years old.
One of the biggest boy bands ever is looking to hang tough in Toronto.
Somebody said somebody wouldn't last long. Yeah.
New Kids on the Block announced a new tour that includes an August 17th show at Budweiser Stage. The 3-month Magic Summer Tour 2024 kicks off next June in Ohio. It's a nod to their sold-out 1990 tour of the same name. But this time, Paula Abdul and DJ Jazzy Jeff will be special guests. Pre-sales begin tomorrow.
Celine Dion made an appearance at a Montreal Canadiens game in Las Vegas last night. The iconic singer posed for a picture with the vice president of communications for the Habs. Dion has scaled back her public appearances after revealing earlier this year she's dealing with a serious neurological condition known as stiff person syndrome.
Ryan Gosling is getting some special treatment from Barbie's parent company. The character he played in the hit movie has been made into a doll by Mattel. It's sculpted to the likeness of the Canadian actor and wears the headband and horse charm necklace from his Mojo Dojo Casa House outfit. Mattel says the doll celebrates Kenergy and signifies that we are all Kenough.
Stars Tonight is brought to you by Lastman's Bad Boy. Who's better? Nobody.
After the break, Canada's economy stalls, signaling a technical recession, unpacking the latest data and what it could mean for Canadians.
On the next CP24 Breakfast.
Comic and political satirist Rick Mercer will stop by, and he's bringing stories from his memoir about his travels across the country.
That's on the next CP24 Breakfast, up first at 5.
It's completely unfair that they still have to pay the carbon tax, so I'm urging the Prime Minister to play fair, do what's right, and eliminate the tax altogether.
Updating our top stories, Ontario and some other provinces are demanding they get the same treatment as Atlantic Canada. Last week, the Prime Minister announced a carbon tax break on home heating oil in the region.
The burden of proof is really high for prosecutors. It's really a virtual certainty or very, very close to it that needs to be proved.
Peter Nygard took issue with a number of questions today while being cross-examined at his sexual assault trial in Toronto. The former fashion mogul has pleaded not guilty to all 6 counts.
I had nothing to do with the changes in the Greenbelt, number one. Number two, the Auditor General cleared us, cleared my office, and the Integrity Commissioner cleared me in my office.
The Premier responding after the release yesterday of documents related to the removal of land from the Greenbelt. The RCMP is still investigating. The government has since reversed expansion plans in 12 municipalities.
On the financial front, there are signs Canada could technically be in a recession. It comes as higher interest rates and elevated inflation weigh on the economy. BNN Bloomberg's Jacqueline Hansen reports.
Canada's economy was flat in August, zero growth, the same as July, and that followed a contraction back in June. So it has been slow going for months now. StatsCan says some of the weakness comes from specific events such as wildfires, droughts, and of course there's been those labor strikes as well, which is why Scotiabank's head of capital markets economics, Derek Holt, warns against jumping to the conclusion that this stretch of weakness means Canada's economy is in a recession. He urges caution caution when using that label, not only because he says it's not yet clear if the data warrants it, but also because it can be dangerous for the confidence of Canadians. The governor of the Bank of Canada said recently that he wasn't ruling out the possibility of a technical recession. That's 2 quarters of contractions in a row. But he stressed that a few small negatives for economic growth don't equate to what most people think of when they think of a recession, such as severe, widespread job losses. A major potash project in Saskatchewan is set to become even bigger. Australian mining giant BHP is pouring an additional $6 billion into a second phase of its project to mine Canadian potash used in fertilizers. The company has already spent more than $12 billion on the project. The CEO says the new investment will transform the site into one of the world's largest potash mines, doubling production capacity. And cash for credit. Canadian Tire is buying back Scotiabank's stake in its credit card business for nearly $900 million in cash. Scotia bought a 20% stake in the retailer's financial services unit almost 10 years ago. According to Canadian Tire CEO, taking control of the entire business will allow it to expand the credit card program and respond to customers' changing needs. The company also says next year it will evaluate strategic alternatives for the financial services unit. Let's take a look at some of the closing market numbers for today. The Canadian dollar is trading lower, almost 1/4 cent, to a touch above 72 cents U.S. West Texas Intermediate oil declined a little over $1 to $81 U.S. a barrel. And Western Canadian Select dropped more than $11 to roughly $56 U.S. a barrel. As for stock markets, the TSX gained just 16 points to end the day at 18,873.47. That is the latest in business. I'm Jacqueline Hansen of B&M Bloomberg.
Meanwhile, a well-known Canadian tech company is looking for a new leader. BlackBerry needs a CEO and executive chairman. The current person in charge is set to step down at the end of the week. John Chen's resignation follows a review that led the company to decide to split into 2 separate units. Chen joined the firm a decade ago with the goal of transforming it from a smartphone manufacturer into a cybersecurity business.
In sports, the Raptors' early season struggles continue, dropping a home game against the Trailblazers last night.
Scotty's going to lead the break into the front court. Portland gets back. He's going to pull up. Oh! Scotty B knocks it down.
Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam both scored 20 points to lead the way for the Raps, but it wasn't enough. They lost 99-91. This is their 3rd straight loss. The Raptors will look to get back on track tomorrow when they take on Milwaukee.
Looks to the net. Klingberg holds on. He's got it. Side of the net. Domi trying to center. Charles to save. They score.
The Leafs are back home tonight after a lengthy road trip that saw them earn 7 of a possible 10 points. Toronto hosts the LA Kings, with William Nylander looking to set a franchise record for the longest point streak to start a season. He's got 8 so far. Puck drop is shortly after 8 o'clock.
Another prestigious award has been presented to Argentine soccer great Lionel Messi.
The 2023 Ballon d'Or France footballer is Lionel Messi.
Messi's won the award a record 8th time. It recognizes the best soccer players in the world. Messi led his country to the World Cup title in Qatar last year, winning the one major trophy that has eluded him in his remarkable career. Learning was even more fun today. Kids dressed in full costume in class, part of the Halloween tradition. We check out some of the spooky events in schools around town after the break.
Tonight, a grandmother's creation celebrating the spookiest night of the year.
My favorite part is a scary, there's a creepy guy over there.
The haunted forest delighting kids on a Manitoba First Station. Later on CTV National News.
As children go out tonight in search of candy, the festivities started early.
Many schools held celebrations to get in the spooky spirit. This was the scene at R.H. McGregor Elementary School. They go all out. Students and teachers took part in several events throughout the day. Things kicked off with a kindergarten costume parade. Later in the day, kids went on a spooky walk through a haunted house and attended a DJ-led sock dance.
Our game is over there, the fun house, and we are doing the eyeballs you throw in and you win points and you get prizes with that points. with our amazing prize selection.
We feel so special because before, like last year, we didn't get to make stuff and we didn't get to participate. So this year, I'm glad that we could have.
Yeah.
To cap off the fun, grade 4 and 5 students shared their homemade Halloween-themed arcade games with the rest of the school. I don't know how much work gets done on Halloween, and I don't think people really watch their diets either. This is a day where you can just go crazy with the candy.
Yeah, the work is tonight getting that haul as big as possible, Lindsay.
I think so, and these kids are doing very well. I have seen some very full bags of candy. Look at all these amazing costumes. You guys look absolutely awesome. Does everyone want to say Happy Halloween? Happy Halloween! Yeah, it's getting full out here, Michelle and Nathan. And for anyone who's just about to go out trick-or-treating, let's take one more look at the forecast that you can expect into the night tonight. Temperature-wise, yeah, it's a little bit chilly out here, but everyone's got their jackets on. They're staying nice and cozy and toasty warm, so that's a good thing. It's 4 degrees right now. Here's one more look at the 7-day forecast. And we're heading into November tomorrow. It's the first day of November. So we'll say goodbye to October, and we're going to say goodbye from Headington Avenue. Happy Halloween, Nathan and Michelle, and to all the viewers. You want to try it one more time? 1, 2, 3. Happy Halloween! I'll send it back to you.
Great costumes.
Happy Halloween. All right, be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Andrea Case with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a spooky night.
Ooh.
You guys.